Hello, my name is Kevin Innes, and I'm going to be talking today about how to facilitate even better than you're doing now. It is very fulfilling to be able to work with groups who have decided to make consensus decisions as an important part of the way they build their group. To have everyone wholeheartedly be a part of that decision that is made and have use techniques to bring out the best in their creativity is a wonderful process that I enjoy doing myself. So an excellent book on this is Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making by Sam Canner. And I'll be having a few slides about that today. Starting off with techniques for honoring all points of view, facilitative listening skills. And there are a whole list of them here. Many are self-evident. Respecting diverse communication styles, right? We all have different ways of expressing ourselves, some of which may not be preferred by others, but of course we try to make them kind. And keeping the volume at a level that will most easily have people listen to you, not get all emotional about what you're saying. We want to be able to have careful deliberations about things. Paraphrasing, saying what they have said in different ways that may facilitate others' understanding. Drawing people out. When they've started to make a point and they're seeking some support, you can ask questions to help facilitate that. Bring it out. Mirroring is a way of saying back to them what they've said, and that is another way of giving them support. Gathering ideas. Say there's ideas from a few different folks, bringing them together and finding some commonality. Stacking is where you can ask for who has comments on a particular topic, and say amongst 10 people, 4 people raise their hand. Okay, the order in which they raise their hand, that's the stack. 1, 2, 3, 4. And your Vibes Watcher can help you keep track of that. Tracking is where you have a number of different ideas about a topic or way of doing things, and you can keep track of them on the board by putting them in different areas on your chart, on your flip chart. Encouraging people to say more about their topic, balancing what they've said about what the point they've made with maybe the opposite or a contrasting view, or seeing how that balances with other things that are taking place. Making space for a quiet person. They need a little bit more encouragement, and your Vibes Watcher can help you with that. Acknowledging people's feelings. Nonviolent communication has some excellent skills that way. Good thing to investigate yourself. Validating what their point. There again, another version of encouraging. Empathizing, saying how you may feel or speaking to their feelings on a matter. Intentional silence plays an important role in helping focus the group on what was just said, or when the group starts to get too excited, emotional, take a moment just to step back from all the excitement. It's amazing how long 10 seconds are is when things have been going rapid fire for a while. Linking up what people have said to what the topic at hand is that you're talking about, or what other people have said. Listening for common ground. That's pretty clear there. See if there's something similar to what someone else has said. Listening with a point of view is, if you, especially in terms of you have an expert on a subject, or someone who will quasi-act as a facilitator at that point, who has a particular view or expertise in law, for instance, or in technical issues, and then they will be listening with their expert opinion point of view in terms of being able to answer those questions or concerns particular to the topic they have expertise in, and summarizing what it all has been said before. Now, another point, of course, with facilitating is that if you want to engage in the conversation yourself, you have a separate facilitator who can be substitute for you when you want to engage in the conversation yourself, or maybe two others. Now, you've set up your meeting with an agenda that you've let everyone know beforehand through email, and others can add to that. I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes about some basics of meeting structure that will help your facilitation. So, starts off with that agenda, and when you come to meet everyone on time, you decide amongst you when the meeting will start and when it will end, including that a warm-up exercise at the beginning, icebreaker. There are some wonderful cooperative games, new team-building games, exercises that help to do that. And singing is good. Everyone give a group massage, for instance, where you turn one direction, you massage each other's shoulders. There's a number of different exercises. And then you decide who is going to be the office that have certain responsibilities, volunteers. One, of course, is the facilitator. Another is the timekeeper, who keep track of how much time is left on a particular point that you're going to be talking about. And a vibes watcher, someone who will notice if someone's hasn't been speaking for a while or seems agitated about something, and can speak to that, or when two people start more discussing with each other in an emotional fashion, they'll point to that and perhaps make a decision to talk outside of the group about that, work out their differences instead of taking the group's time, or as well to help the facilitator know who's on stack, who's in order of points to be added to the discussion. Okay, so then you have your agenda. You can decide which points you're going to be covering at that meeting, and how much time to allot to each of them. Some may not be able to be discussed and will have to be tabled for another meeting. That's fine. It's being realistic so that everyone can leave at the proper time that they've set aside for this. Facilitation is, of course, even more important, a role during brainstorming exercises, or when you go deeper into solutions to a issue, a problem, challenge. So, dynamics of group decision-making addresses the type of progression that a brainstorming session or discussion may take. You could have a new topic and make a very quick decision after a brief discussion because people are impatient. But if you give it a little bit more time to have some wild and crazy, creative, connecting type of thinking, you may feel that it's diverged from the topic, but you will go beyond the familiar opinions of everyone to very diverse perspectives. But isn't that how you can come up with some amazing creative decisions too, and ideas? And then at a point, at say the midway point of your discussion, the time that you've allotted for this, it's time to converge the thinking. Maybe the ideas have become less and less, and so they kind of stuck. And then you can start bringing the ideas together, consolidating them, finding similarities, seeing how one connects to another, refining those. This is the convergent part of the process. That middle area there where everything seems to be very far away from your original topic, perhaps, is the groan zone. People are, I don't see how this relates, and we'll get into that in a moment. But you're going to be refining these ideas after a while and come to a decision point. And we'll address the different ways to come to that decision point at another session. As the discussion is going on, there will be perhaps some statements that are less than supportive, and these are the injunctions against public thinking, thinking in public. So you may hear comments, or people may be thinking, or maybe you've done this yourself, that's like, that's crazy, as far as an idea somebody has, or you're making me think too hard, or getting pretty intellectual here, aren't we? You know, statements that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Statements such as that are not really supportive to divergent thinking, and tend to stymie people's creativity. So the next slide talks about the supportive attitude in action, and that's something that the facilitator, of course, would be a model of, and will give an example to others. I know this might be difficult for you, etc. What is your opinion, especially for the person who hasn't spoken for a while? What would be an example of that? Does anyone have more to add? All these statements, and you can look at more of these on your own, are statements that will support people in their brainstorming, in their creative way of looking at things. And as long as you can do this, and the more ideas that come, from those you can filter out or filter in those which are related or unrelated to the topic, or closely affiliated, that seems to support a lot of where people are coming from. Another volunteer position for your discussion is the person who does the chart writing, who makes the points that everyone's discussing. And there are a few tips and techniques about this. For instance, the sentences are easier to read, but make them short, of course. Second point, don't be shy about putting we and for a more inclusive way of addressing things that helps with that spirit of consensus, of course. Verbs and nouns are high priority, but adjectives and adverbs are low priority in the actual note-taking. People have different feelings about a particular item, and so it may not... It's just, let's get to the facts. Use only standard abbreviations, some that are more exotic, creative. The person who's going to be sending out information to everyone might not be able to understand it. And title every page, and that's best done with the black marker. It stands out so much. Any other markers you could use, it's good to have a variety: green, brown. Don't use yellow, it doesn't come out very well. Orange. And you can actually have different color markers, one between each of your fingers, sort of held between, so you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 different markers in your hand. One could be black for your titling each page and numbering them. Here are a few ways to list some of the ideas that you come up with in your group, and you can try these at your next meeting. Of course, there's brainstorming. The quality is more important than the quality. There's just standard listing all the answers or ideas that come up. But how about trying sticky notes? Members write ideas on stickies, and one idea per sheet. Okay? And all stickies are posted on the wall, and later ideas can be categorized and moved around to different areas. And as you're writing them, put them up yourself. So there's a lot of activity there. Small group jump start. People form pairs, discuss the question, then reconvene the group to build a list of good ideas. There's different ways of doing that, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Brain writing. Members write ideas on individual pieces of paper, and every few minutes people trade sheets, read them, adding fresh ideas. So you just keep on adding, don't include the idea you've had on a previous sheet, and just see. It's a sort of quiet way of doing it, especially in a large group or an area where there's a lot of echo. Might get a little too noisy. And multi-topic, multi-station. The flip charts on different topics posted around the rooms, and people move from station to station every couple of minutes. And you can do that with large sheets of newsprint, for instance, that you can put up on the wall. I would suggest 2 layers thick with blue tape so that markers don't print all the way through, and the blue tape will not leave a mark on the wall. And you just have a huge roll. We've done that before. Works great. And then you can have various stations all along the wall. So you have your facilitator important points in mind, and such as your listening skills, and you have the concept of your note taker and your vibes watcher, when you've been thinking in terms of a supportive attitude as you're doing meetings, and you have a few ideas about how to list the ideas that you do come up with in your group. This would be a good time to break up into small groups. Now, there are many ways of doing that, and it's a great way to get some energy going within the group, because some topics, people want to have a lot of input. And if you have 10 people in the group, say everybody gets 2 minutes to speak, that's 20 minutes. That takes just 2 minutes. That's 20 minutes of your meeting that may be only an hour. Whereas, if you have 10 minutes to talk amongst groups of 3, you'll have a whole lot more that you can say and more ideas you can get from everyone. And then bring it back to the whole group with more ideas, and have a 5-minute discussion with people from each of the groups having had opportunity to facilitate their own meeting, come back to the whole group with the ideas they've come up with. So there's many variations. Very good one is 2-4-2, for instance. There's 4 participants. In round 1, there's 2 pairs. And then they discuss the topic, bounce it off each other, and then have all 4 people discuss, and then go back again with groups of 2, with just pairs. And then, but maybe pair off with a different person than you were with last time. And then you could have the ramping up approach, where it's 8 people, just pairs at first, and then 2 groups of 4, and then all 8. And at each stage, decide who's going to be the facilitator, who will be the note taker, and when it's a larger group, of course, you could have a vibes watcher. And then share what each of the groups have come up with. So with 40 people, you could have a lot of ideas come together in a very short period of time. People feel really good about it. They've been having an opportunity to hear and be heard, and more than you would in a larger group where it's just one person speaking per time. So look over these closely. There's a number of great ideas about different types of combinations of small groups, and you can vary it each meeting that you go to. Make a suggestion that we have a component of your meeting include a small group discussion. Really helps liven up the meeting, and people look forward to the next one when you do it. So, for instance, you've had your brainstorm, and you've been you're midway through the discussion. This might be an opportunity for you to break up into smaller groups, for instance, and look at the list in more detail. And so you can sort the data with some particular criteria in mind, especially if you have a huge list. Create categories and sort the data. You could do the sticky approach, the post-it note stickies, for instance, and move them around. Maybe it's a timeline that you have, and you have different things, 4 or 5 different areas of activity through a campaign, educational campaign that you have. You have the PR and the internet. You have the publication material. You have tabling, outreach. So each of these has its own timeline doing things, and post-it notes or stickies are really good for being able to sort your ideas into a time frame and a particular category very quickly. You could call the list by selecting high priority items as another way to approach your ideas from a brainstorm. Debrief the activity by sharing reflections on the list as a whole. How was that activity? What do you think of the ideas we've collected together? And to discuss, of course, what do we want to do now? So you've had your meeting, and you've had a number of great ideas that have come up, and you've made some decisions. Very important essential, in fact, to have follow-up. And that includes the notes that you have just had. That would be a point of time when the person who had been taking notes can verify the decisions that everyone has made and summarize them and have a time frame which they are to be done, duties, responsibilities from various members to reinforce that, and then to have a discussion about how the meeting went. What were the good things that happened? What are the things that could be improved, and some suggestions to allow time in your schedule to fine-tune and assess your meetings as a whole and what you could do even better next time. And then have some kind of closing exercise or an activity that you can do together. It could be a moment of silence, or it could be another exercise, team building exercise. It just takes a few minutes, and people feel really good about a wonderful closing, because then it's the parting thought that they've had, and they are more inclined to come to your next meeting. So have fun with this. Continue to learn more about how to do this, and it'll be enjoyable to be a facilitator and a participant. But just because you're not facilitating doesn't mean you can include some of that supportive statements and attitudes that will help the whole group gel as a powerful working team for good. So check out Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making, and we'll talk some more about this.